are listening to the Balancing Act podcast. Here's your hosts, Jamie Wonko and Joe Vitale.
Oh my goodness, I got like the finger flick.
Yeah, I know. It's a new thing. Bing, bing.
Hello and welcome to the Balancing Act podcast. I am Jamie Wonko here with Mr. Joseph Vitale, and we are so happy to bring you our show today.
Yes, we're very happy to be here once again. My finger flicking was more of trying to get dexterity in my frozen fingers
Oh my goodness.
because I am outside in the early spring in New Jersey, which is I'm hoping when this episode airs, there's like warm weather because this is I can't take it anymore.
The weather's as unpredictable as a toddler. You know, you just don't know what you're going to get. It just changes so quickly. I actually put my winter coat on today. I didn't have my winter coat going to school. And, I thought, gee, that seems ridiculous. I thought I had put her away, like, see you next year, lady. But nope, she got pulled back out. It was just too cold. I couldn't. I just couldn't do it.
I have like the same outfit that I wear at the baseball field. And it
like a uniform.
Yeah, it's almost like a uniform for me.
Okay.
That's the funny part.
Nice.
And it's like me and my fleece-lined Costco pants. And I have this battery-operated heated jacket that my wife got me, thankfully, a couple years ago from Amazon for a special purchase. And it is glorious, but yet I was still freezing. Like it's just, I can't take it.
I know. Well, hopefully soon we will get, we will get it together and the sun will be in our favor. I did see like our local pool has a little spray ground and everything was bubble wrapped for the winter and it was unwrapped. And I was so excited. And I don't even have little kids, I just seeing that, it was just like it gave me all the feels today. I was so excited.
There is somebody now. Again, we're recording this in early spring. There is somebody in my neighborhood that it has to be heated. Their pool is open.
Wow.
It is the end of March and it is absolutely
That's early.
Yes, very.
My sister's pool in New Jersey was heated and they would open it like early May, I would say, but they would crank that bad boy up to 90 and it was nice, but wow, that's early, I guess. I mean, they're getting a jump start on the season.
Yeah. They're open. Theirs is open late too. There has to be they have to have some kind of like super duper heating system or like maybe it's a hot tub. I don't know.
Imagine the bill for that. Woo!
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I cannot imagine.
Neither can I.
I cannot. Yes. So, I know that you have been holding down the fort as your wife has been away on business.
Yes.
Do you? What are some of the things that happen over there at Casa Vitale when the missus is not home?
Well,
what are some things that are different?
My son's phone doesn't work and he forgets that like I send him text messages and he doesn't respond to me. And we've also joked about this, how like you and I have both texted my son and then let's see who he gets back to. And he gets back to you and doesn't, it's like, oh, I responded to you. And I'm like, no, you didn't. He's like, yeah, I did. Oh, well, yeah, that's right. I thought I responded to you.
Yeah.
No, really it's about, their schedules are just as busy as ours are, our adults. They're going to school in the morning for, my daughter does science tutoring and helps out with the Science Honor Society. And, my son is playing baseball and he has practice here and there. And
no, that's not what I asked you.
What?
I
What did you ask
asked
me?
you.
What things are different?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I was getting to.
Okay.
What I was getting
Well,
to
you
is
just
like,
told me the list of their schedule.
yeah.
But that's not what I meant.
However,
Yeah.
what's different is
Yeah.
that I'm kind of managing. I mean, normally my wife and I are managing that stuff, but like I'm kind of managing all of that, including like getting dinner on the table and, making sure that they have everything that they need. Who needs to get picked up when? Like we normally do that together, and it's divide and conquer.
Right.
But this time it's a little bit more challenging for me to,
Like
to
when
go
I was
solo.
a kid, when I was a child, my dad, he was a principal, so he wasn't out like a ton because, it was a K-8 school, so it wasn't like being a high school principal, but, he was out now and again, and, like, the highlight of my childhood of, like, when my dad was not home was that we would have chicken pot pie for dinner,
Oh,
like,
nice.
Swanson, like, probably at the time, they were, like, 38 cents because now they're only, like, 98 cents, you know? So, like, that was a thing that we always looked forward to, like, "Oh, dad's not gonna be here," so it was, like, this big deal. Do you guys have anything like that where
Um, Not really. We don't.
No.
I It's funny because like if I go away, which happens every once in a while, I remember when we used to live in we lived in Pennsylvania for a time, and I was commuting, over an hour each way. Don't recommend it. Um, and there were times where I had like a morning early faculty meeting, and I'd have to be in by like 7:15, and it was just too hard to, like, get home and get back, so, like, when I had faculty meetings, since my parents are local, I would just crash at their house, or, like, if I was away and I was doing something, but it would be funny because 'cause I'd, like, call home, or we'd, like, FaceTime or whatever, and it'd be like, "The kids are having wacky dinner," and it's like cereal for dinner, which which is endearing and it's cute,
Yeah,
and my kids will still do it every once in a while. Every once in a while, they'll be like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna have cereal." I'm like, "Okay, you know what? You do you."
it's wacky
Um,
dinner. I
yeah,
like
but
it.
honestly, nothing really crazy. Like,
Yeah.
we might every once in a while go to, like, this Mexican restaurant we have in town called Jose Tejas because my wife was never really a huge fan of it. She's kinda taken more of a liking to it recently,
Okay.
but we really don't have anything like that, though, where it's like, "Oh, it's chicken pot pie time."
Right.
Um, yeah,
Noth
really.
Yeah, I mean, and that's hard too because there's, like, is there time to, even, like, go somewhere different or do something, but because that can be tricky with everybody's schedules.
Yeah, I think that's the hard part is this is also, and my wife knows this too. I mean, this is the part where at the end of her semester, working where she works, at the end of her semester, it becomes very busy with like kids needing to, I say kids, but like adults that are going through the program that she works for, finishing up and getting ready for graduation and her auditing all that stuff. It's like a super duper stressful event for her. So, like, not that I become a single parent, but, like, I'm the only one that's, like, doing a lot of that running around
Yeah.
because somebody has to, and she has other things that she has to focus on until that kinda settles down for her. But also when that settles down, everything kinda settles down because it's, like, midday and we start to get
Mm,
to, like, that groove where you're getting towards the end of the school year. So,
yeah.
that's a challenge for us balance-wise, for who's gotta do what and when. Because it's always, our kids have always been involved in sports and athletics and stuff like that, but that's nearing its end with our kids being, juniors because they won't be pursuing that in college, and, they say that you'll miss it, and then when I'm like, yeah, but I won't miss standing outside full circle to
Hate
bring
being
it
cold.
the
Yeah.
freezing cold with a battery-operated heated jacket on, like, I just
Yeah.
won't,
You'll get a reprieve until you're a grandparent probably, and then you'll be back out there again.
Probably, but I will be a
Yeah.
fair weather grandparent, meaning I will go out there in the fair weather because I just can't take it. Um,
Encourage indoor activities.
yes,
Yeah.
encourage indoor activities. Play
Oh my
volleyball, kid.
god. Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Um,
have different spring breaks this year in our house, so that is a challenge. I have mentioned before my desire for a statewide calendar. I think it would be terrific if we all had the same schedules, but we do not. So, and this is an issue for many parents, obviously, who are teachers and who are not teachers to maintain the schedule. And of course, like there's lots of school districts that bank in the snow days and then didn't use any of them. So now the end of the year becomes this time where every other day you have a day off from school, which can be
yeah,
crazy maddening when you have little ones. So, so that's a whole other thing. But we really don't like having different spring breaks or
yeah,
any break for that matter. So that's upon us, and we really are annoyed by it. I'll say we like when they overlap and we all have off. It's like there's nothing worse than like you have to get up and your partner is like sleeping and you're separate. You can't have fun together at the same time. So
yeah.
that'll be next up for us.
That's
But
that's definitely a bummer.
it is a bummer.
Yeah, and I could see how, just from a schedule perspective, you wanna spend that time with your significant other and catch up
And the
and relax a
kids
little
and
bit
the
when you
yeah,
could. Yeah.
everybody all together. So, me and the kids have off together, and Jason does not. So, we're upset, officially upset. So it's interesting because there's gonna be, I'm sure there's so many people, and that is the one benefit I know that that, of teaching and working in the same district as my kids, is that I don't have to ever think about that schedule because we always have off at the same time. But it's very stressful for people in opposite situations. So, but crazy, even that too is a very short lived thing because all of a sudden your kids are old enough and you don't have to think about that so much anymore. But when they're little, it is a rough go.
I wonder why there isn't more of a push to do, like, a statewide calendar
Yeah.
like that. I would
I
wonder why.
honestly think that there is so much, I can only surmise there's so much, differences. There's so many differences specifically with, like, religious observances for different, towns
Mhm.
that I think that there would be a ton of pushback from different communities that wouldn't have certain holidays off because, right, our school district doesn't do religious holidays. We do federal, and that obviously can get tricky in other places if you had, let's say, for instance, like a huge Jewish population, and we don't have off for like Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur. So, I that would be
Anymore,
my
yeah.
yeah, anymore. That would be my guess as to why, they couldn't have a statewide, but, I know that my husband's school district made a very specific push to get out before Juneteenth.
Yeah.
So, they kinda moved things around, and they have a different kind of schedule this year than they have before, whereas we have, school and then off and then school and off and
Yeah,
school.
the end of our year is just gonna
Ooh,
be, it's
it's
gonna
getting
be.
more like, Swiss cheesy, honestly. It's stop, start, stop, start, stop, start.
Yeah, and to the point where, from a grade perspective, like, I guess I'll be done the first week of June, and you'll have to be teaching,
Yeah,
because you teach 8th.
graduation for
Yeah,
promotion, yeah.
you have 8th
I
grade
already have 9 grades in the grade book.
for the new marking period,
Yeah,
and that's crazy because we just recently started, but like everyone else, you probably ended a little earlier, so
had
you can
to,
start the next one a little early. It's just a weird.
had to.
Yeah, it's just a weird headspace to get yourself into.
Yep, had to do it, had no
Yeah.
choice, and, if there's any possibility of me getting, that's an interesting question, honestly. I'm so curious for other schools, and if you're a teacher, this will be a great poll question for us to put out there to everybody. How many grades do you need to have? Because we recently have a new schedule and we're getting used to it, and it's very different from our old schedule, which was block, and now we have periods. So the kids had 4 blocks, now they have 6 periods, but we have the same amount of grades that we had as the old schedule. We still have 20 minor and 5 major. So is that typical? I honestly, I would have no idea, no way of knowing. So I'd be so curious to
Yeah.
see where other people land with that, especially also because the other grades I'm looking at are my kids, and I already know because we're here. So I'd be
You
curious
know,
to see, is
one
that
of
a lot?
one of the things this is kind of a personal issue with me that I struggle with, and I think the hardest thing for me personally, being a teacher and having my kids go to school in the same district where I work at, is that I know what the policies are, right? Now,
Yeah.
any parent can go, and this is gonna lead us into our conversation today. Any
Yes.
parent can go on the district website, and they can look up all of the public district policies in regards to grading, in regards to
Yes.
attendance, water bottles, dress code, all that stuff, right? So when I know that I am told by my administrators it's 20 and 5, meaning 20 minor assessments, 5 major assessments, and that's the standard, and that's what it needs to be every marking period. And then my kids get evaluated with uh, you know, 3 major grades in a class and like, let's say 8 minors, and one of those majors is a doubled major. They took one assignment and just gave it the grade twice. I don't I don't understand why if there is a this is just me as Mr. Rule follower. If there is a policy, why is everyone not following the policy? So that is another conversation I'd love to hear from people about, like, does it differ from level to level? Does it different from
Right.
department to department? Um, can you really like, what is the best way to truly evaluate a child? And there are times where we've been told like, "Hey, during COVID, grades were grades." Um, that things were a little bit different, but it's kind of a sore subject for me because, like,
Mhm.
I'm like, why aren't people just doing this? I think of them as like, okay, well, you know, you can't just be like, you know what? I don't like stop signs. Stop signs are stupid and they're red and they tell me what to do and they're an octagon. Are they an octagon? I guess, yeah, they're an octagon. Like, I don't like, yeah, signs, dumb. But like, there's a reason why they exist to keep order and to make sure people don't crash into each other. Like, I don't understand why there's not a uniform standard
He's
as to
getting riled up. He's getting riled up.
No,
His
it's
arms
just
are flying high.
that's the Italian in me. No, it's one of those things where, like, if I'm an administrator, that's something that I feel should be uniform for all kids across the
I
district.
kind of also think though, like if you're an administrator and you have people who are working for you that are professionals, like the assumption would be that they are following the professional, code and the rules that they know and the policies that they signed off on, right? So to
Literally
me,
signed off on. Yeah.
signed off on. So to me, what I don't understand is if you have a parent who reaches out and says, my child is in this class, and this is like now the third marking period in a row where they're supposed to have 25 grades and they've had six. Um, and can you just look into that for me? And then as a parent, you realize like you're now entering the fourth marking period and there's nowhere anywhere near the number that you're supposed to have.
Mhm.
Nothing is going to change. So you either just have to like deal with it or go berserk.
Yeah, and
I've at this point, I'm like, the stakes aren't that high in my situation, so I'm like, "Okay, we're just gonna." I mean, even, like, to the point where I reached out and said, "Are you gonna have" to the teacher, like, "Are you gonna have any more grades? Because 6 doesn't really seem like enough." "Oh, yeah, yeah, sure, no problem." Yes. No, I just was like, "I'm right on top of that, Rose." Do you get that reference?
I do. And I think that's
Are
the
you
hard
Rose?
I could be. I think the hard part is also, and I've
Boys
had
don't usually get that reference, Joe. I'm so proud of you.
I know it, I can't
Was it
remember it
Christina
though.
Applegate that you liked that made you watch Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead?
Um, no, I do remember the movie though. I thought it was a fun movie.
In Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead,
Is that
poor
the
Chris
one where is that what the one where they're on the roof and the dishes are
dishes are
done,
done,
man,
man.
and they're like
Yeah.
shooting the dishes?
Yes,
That
but
that I remember.
the greatest line of all time from that movie was, her boss she's only 17, but she's gotta get to work because they killed the babysitter and they buried her with all the money, whoops, or she just dies, she dies of old age, right? So then they
80s classics.
so then they, so she has to go to work and she, like, fakes her whole this is, even before ChatGPT, she fakes her whole resume, she copies it from a book. Anyway, she gets this high-powered job and her boss, Rose, tells her, like, "Anytime we get a call, no matter what it is, you say, 'I'm right on top of that, Rose.'" And so that becomes like a
That's right.
whole and to me, like, it's just the perfect response for like, "Oh, hey, teacher, do you think maybe you have a few more grades?" And they're like, "Oh, yeah." And I'm like, "I'm right on top." It's such a BS. "I'm right on top of that, Joe."
Yeah, that's funny.
You know.
Uh,
So today we're gonna talk
but
about,
I wanna make one more comment
yeah,
though. I'm
go ahead.
sorry. Sorry I interrupted you because piggybacking on top of that, like, yes, I'm a teacher in the district and my kids go here. That's the other reason that I don't wanna be like the guy who's, like, pointing that out and making waves because I I don't wanna put myself under a microscope. I mean, and it's not that it's funny to me too, because like, it's not that I'm worried about that, like, I'm dedicated to what I do, I enjoy what I do, I get good evaluations, like, I think I'm well respected by my colleagues and my boss, like, it's not something I should really be worried about, but I don't want people to, like, roll their eyes when they get an email from me, and I also do the things as a parent that I'm supposed to do, like, if I'm gonna email a teacher, I email from my personal account, not my
Right.
work account,
Oh,
because
well, I'm not
that's just me. That's just me.
right.
Separate church and state. Um, But yeah, there's
What difference does it make, really?
I know, I know. It's
I
just
don't
this
know. That I'm like, "Meh." Also, it's like, I'm not trying to pick at people. I'm not trying to say, I'm not trying to tattle on them. It's like you always go to the teacher first. But, I mean, I don't know that I would split hairs over, like, okay, you're supposed to have 25. Let's say you have 16,
yeah, I
18, 6, 7. I mean,
yeah, but
6 or 7?
if you're in a specific honors class,
No, honors, non-honors, I don't care. It's like
yeah.
I feel like
No, I'm saying,
right,
like,
I
if
feel like
you're
I
in a
get, like, to a
specific honors
cartoon
class,
level where I'm, like, sweating and grading and doing, and we're doing an activities and we're planning, and it's like,
that's see,
"Oh,
that's the other part too. Is it a dereliction of duty, right? Are we now duty? Are we now stepping aside from the fact that we are responsible for doing these things, like grading things in a timely manner because you get 5 days to grade a major assessment and 2 days to grade a minor
right."
or whatever it is. And yes, you give grace to people. I'm not like looking, oh, it wasn't 5 days. Like, you
No,
give
I'm
grace to
talking
people.
about it's the last week of
Yeah.
the
No,
marking
I
period,
know.
and there's
And
still 6 grades.
so I'm gonna tell this story,
Uh-oh, here we go.
but I am really quick, and I am gonna ask my daughter if it's okay. So if we might wind up cutting this out, but I'm gonna leave this in right now. And my daughter, at the end of last year, was in a particular class and handed in a project, and it was the middle of May that she handed in a project, and it was a major. And she took a final exam in the end of June. And that project was not graded for 5 weeks. And we get to the end of the school year, and she took her final exam, and it was, the last 2 days of school are like high school are like it's really for seniors, and they go do graduation practice and the barbecue and all that stuff. So kids don't go. If as long as they don't need the attendance days, and my kids
Right.
had not been out. Like, they were out a handful of times and said,
Yeah.
"You guys can stay home. You're fine. You've been to school. Your grades are good." Okay. And my daughter, we were at my son's baseball game, and she goes, "I'm gonna go into school tomorrow." And we were like, "What? Where are you going to school tomorrow?" She wanted to go talk to the vice principal and be like, "I don't think it was right that I went into a final exam not knowing what I was gonna get, like, not knowing what I had on that project to then know what I needed on my final exam to get the grade that I wanted to get." And she's like, "It wouldn't have changed how I prepared. I still would have studied. I still would have worked hard. But like, I think it's messed up that like I waited 5 weeks and I asked, like, is this project going to be graded? Do you know what the grade happens to be?" And it was just time after time after time after time. And you just get to a point where you want to step in, but she decided to advocate for herself and went and had that conversation. And I'm proud of her for doing that. She didn't have to do that. It was the end of the school year. She could have just, wiped her hands clean of it and phoned it in. But she decided to be like, I don't think it's right. And I think someone should know that that happened. So hopefully it won't happen to somebody else again.
I don't get, it's just so I don't get 5 weeks. I honestly
I don't get it either.
get
And
itchy if I have anything on my to-do list. It makes me, and there are times you just can't do it. You gotta put it till the next day, or I mean, especially this year, and it was under and I agreed fully, so I only get an hour prep every other day. So I, have to hustle in other ways, other times before school, after school, and that's my agreement, right, to teach an extra class, and I'm, financially compensated for it, so it's fair, completely fair. But at the same time, like, even teaching the 5 classes, I don't like to have multiple things on my to-do list. So I just it baffles me, like, "What are you doing? And did you forget?" And then you couldn't just say, like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot." You know what is, like, my biggest crime as a teacher? This is not funny, but it's a little funny. But I say it on my back to school night speech, and I tell the kids, when I was in college back in the day, we didn't even have computers, and I never thought I'd be like a data entry specialist. And so, if you ever find that I gave you a 10 instead of a
oh
100, like,
God, all the
please
time.
tell me. And that's always, and they'll be like, Mrs. Wanko, and it doesn't happen like,
I
constantly or anything, but I do that every once in a while, and they're really polite and so sweet, like, Mrs.
mhm,
Wanko, it's 100. And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, thank you so much." Because it is crazy, like 115 kids that you're grading times
yeah.
25 grades. It's a lot of grading.
Jam, I mean, I literally like the midpoint of the marking period and close to the end of the marking period, I stand up and I say, I am a human being
Yeah.
who is subject to faults
Oh, yeah.
and mistakes.
Yep.
I said, the one thing that I want to make sure for every single person in this room
Yep.
is that you get the credit that you deserve on your assignments. So if
Mhm.
I put something in wrong, I will never be angry. I'll never be upset. You want
Yep.
to grab me in the cafeteria? Like, and then I even go one step further and say, you need to see me write it down. And if you don't see me write it down, you need to say, hey, could you write that down? Just
That's
so,
right.
because like I'm
Yeah.
literally an air traffic controller, right? You're dealing with problems all the time.
Yep.
So I want to make like that is a huge thing. I even go as far as tell them, like, look, if you got in trouble because your parents saw that you got a 60 and I was supposed to put in a 75 or whatever, like I will literally call them and
Yeah.
say, this is my mistake because I do not want you to get in trouble for something that
Right.
I made a mistake on. Like, and I've sent
Yeah.
an email or two in the last couple of years. It
Yeah.
happens all the
And I
time.
think that the parent response, because I always say that on back to school night, but the parent response, the student response to being able to like admit a mistake or to say, like, hey, we're all just trying to do our best. We're all trying to, be, the best version of ourselves that we can.
Yeah.
And I find people to be more than forgiving,
Yeah.
more than understanding. And it kind of makes a better relationship for everybody.
100%.
Genuinely. I yeah, for
100%.
sure.
No,
So
this is a great conversation, and I think it's really important to like we're in that like we're all a team, right? Like me, the kids, the parents, like yeah, of course I'm the person that's supposed to be in charge. My biggest crime in my career is that I eat other people's lunches out of the refrigerator. No, I do not. I'm just kidding. Um,
never,
no, I
never.
had like a complex because I forgot salad dressing and then I used somebody's and I was like, oh, who is this? I know it's a whole bottle and I needed some and I got to I didn't ask. It
Did
was like
you
a whole
write, like, "Dear salad dressing
no.
owner, hi, it's me, Joe. I am sorry that I used a would it be like a dollop
A dollop.
of your, did you find out
Balsamic
who it was?
balsamic with honey. Yes, it was one of our science teachers and she was like, what?
Oh.
Okay, whatever, that's fine. Um anyway, no, it's one of those things where like we're all a team, right? And I tell the kids like you got to communicate with me. Like I'm never going to be upset
Right.
if I make a mistake or like if I put in the wrong grade or when I give you a paper back if you're like, "Wait, this says I got an 80."
That's right.
I was like,
And
"Look, if
it
you
is
come up to
so
me,
well,
I've
that's
had
the thing too, is that you're teaching them a really important communication skill.
yeah.
How that they can, how they can approach you, how open you are to listening, their ability to communicate and advocate for themselves.
Mhm.
It's such an important skill. And then I always do give them the out of, if you are not comfortable talking to me about it, you can send me an email. Your parents can
Yeah.
send me an email. I don't really fancy myself a please leave me a comment in Google Classroom kind of lady, because that's a dangerous slippery slope. I don't
Oh, I
love
tell
it.
them my comments
Oh,
are on, but
yeah.
I'm like, "Guys, I can't tell you how many times I have to tell you this.
Oh my
I
gosh.
never look at them when I'm at home. I don't bring
No,
my work laptop
no,
home.
no.
I find that it's too distracting for me." I said I check my email a few times an evening. When they have, like, a
You
project
check
going
your
on.
email a few times in the evening?
It when they're working on something from home, if they're working on a project, they're finishing something up, I'll tell them like, "Hey, I could check it a few times," and, like but I also tell them like, "Look, if you email me past, like, 8:30,
Yeah.
it ain't happening.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
I'd be more than happy to help you." So I check it, like, on when they're working on a project, when they're doing something more long term. If they're
Yeah.
studying for something, it's like the day before a test, I'll tell them like, "Okay, tonight I'll check things. If you have questions," and I don't mind doing that. It's small. Um, it's something I feel is necessary that creates that relationship back and forth, right? If I'm expecting them to do something and I let them know, like, but I'll even tell them like, hey, I don't have the time tonight. Like I'd be more than willing to, but I'm tutoring or I'm stressed for
Hmm.
this or I have to go to this thing. It's just something that I feel is necessary.
So let me
Uh,
just blow your mind for a second.
do it.
We've talked before about I think that the way that I post in Google Classroom is better than everybody.
I mean, not that you're judgmental
I
or
mean, it's
anything.
so silly, but, like, everybody should do I'm not saying it's the best way. I do think that there should be a uniformed way of doing it to
I
be
agree.
less confusing for the kids. So I could bend if someone could say, "Yes, we'll all do it the same." But anyway, so, in my little, team room the other day with many of the people that teach the same grade level that I teach, I made a comment about how I use the stream as the refrigerator of our classroom. And it is only for announcements. I put all of the flyers for all of like the theme days. And if
Yep.
I have, something other than that, everything is turned off.
Yeah.
Let me just tell you. What? What? Wait, what? What do you do? I said, yeah, the work doesn't have to post to the stream. Let, let me just tell you. It was what? Like, what is this sorcery, Jamie? What?
Do you know how many trainings
I'm
I've
gonna
done on
say,
that?
I'm gonna
And
say
people
so many trainings, and you were like, the goo goo gaga guy, and I get it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this isn't even like this was like so like level 0 to me,
Mm,
that, and they were like, how do you know that? So we walked through. I walked the whole table of people through, and that one little thing, though, which is so fascinating to me, that one little step takes so much unnecessary scrolling away for the kids
mhm.
because now they're not looking down the stream trying to find the work, which one was it, which assignment, where, right? I was like, this is something that we could do across the board,
Yep.
and they didn't know that it existed. I love like when I learn stuff like, wow, classic.
Yeah.
How did I
How
not
did
know
I not
that?
know that?
How did I
Yeah.
not know that? But that I'm telling you, and there was a bunch of people in there, and nobody that did not, ring a bell, and I was like, "I guess maybe you didn't take Joe's class."
Yeah. I, um one of the
You're not
things
surprised.
No, I'm not surprised.
Hmm.
'Cause
I
a lot
was
of
genuinely shocked.
I
'Cause
think
to me, it's such a basic thing.
I think the teachers that dove into learning about, Google Classroom and all the things that you could do with it, which some of the changes have outpaced my ability to learn them. I've talked about that before
Yeah.
because it's just not on my radar in my life right now. Because I spend a lot of time outside of school learning, taking classes, doing that stuff, and that
Yeah.
it's just not possible for me to do right now. But the students that I do executive function with Educational Connections, one of the main things that those kids struggle with is that there is no uniformity to how the work gets posted.
Right.
One teacher puts it on a Google slide deck that gets attached in Canvas. The other one puts it on the announcement board. The other one puts it on the to-do list that comes in. So we have to go to 5 different places. People don't understand that that is detrimental to the middle. I'm talking about middle school. That is
Middle school.
detrimental to the middle school mind. It is. You cannot expect them to go to 5 different places. So I literally go old
It's
school
a
with them.
rare bird that will do that.
Yeah. So I literally will start with the executive function kids and say, "Here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna get a paper planner. We're gonna go through everything. You're gonna write down what your assignments are, even if it's none. And then, because I only work with them if there's 168 hours in a week, I'm only working with them for maybe 90 minutes, 2 hours, an hour, 2 times a week, maybe 45 minutes, 2 times a week. They're gonna take a picture of their planner and send it to me. Like, "Okay, this is what my homework is," and they take a picture, and they do that with me and with mom and dad. Like,
Do you think
okay,
there are people that exist without a to-do list?
there are people that try to exist without a to-do list. My son doesn't use one.
Ooh,
My son forgets nothing.
that's amazing.
No,
You could be a waiter.
I don't know how he does it.
Pretty good.
It's just the way his brain works. As we've
Mhm.
joked about before, he's Mr. Go with the flow. Um, which is great.
Yeah.
We joke all my wife and I joke all the time, like, "Are we sure he's our kid? Are we sure?"
Yeah.
Um, so it's,
Well, he looks just like your father-in-law.
oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but no, he doesn't. But there are some kids that like, "Yeah, I don't need to write that down." I'm like, "No, no, you do." Because and then I go through and I show them, like I don't have it with me here for the people on YouTube, but my wife has, like, a book that she has for all the different projects she works on with, like, little tabs, and that's how she fills everything out, and she has her to-do list papers, which I'm looking around them to see if any of them are down here, and they're not. She's got, like, a pad that she buys. I use stuff on my phone. I used it to, the to-do list on my phone to like keep track of things and then mark stuff off. And I could also do it by date, which goes to my calendar. So I can kind of keep track of what I need to do when. But I think there are people that don't work with to-do lists or the ability to keep themselves organized. And I think
I
that's
just can't. I can't
yeah.
imagine.
That
I
I mean,
can't imagine.
that's the first thing I work with those kids on. And the parents get frustrated. They're like, "Why is my kid missing this assignment? Why did they do?" Because and
It's in 18 different places for
I'm
them to
not
look
trying to
for it.
blame the teacher, but it's in
No.
18 different places for them to do
Right.
it.
Yeah.
If my first executive order,
Mm.
if I ever were to be, if I ever decide that I'm
But
gonna
you're gonna work with the Department of Education. Go ahead. Yes.
there well, the what? Oh, is that a thing?
I don't know.
We are not getting political on this podcast. We're not talking about it.
Who, me?
Yeah,
No.
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 If I were principal or vice principal of a building, I would be fighting tooth and nail for uniformity with the way work gets posted so students can easily find what assignments they have to do.
Yeah.
And no one will be allowed to go rogue.
Yeah.
Like, this is the way it's going to be because it's in the best interest of the
The student.
child. And
Yeah.
I have multiple pieces of research that I can throw at you to make you realize that like everybody's got to do it. And that'd be my biggest fear is like we all say, "Hey, we're all going to do this," and then one person's like, "Yeah, but I kind of
I
like the way
know. It would
I
be
kind of
me.
want to." No, it
No,
wouldn't
I'm
be.
just kidding.
It wouldn't be.
It wouldn't be me, but if, um I am, like, endlessly fascinated by how, like, systems, how things work for people, why they work for people. I
Yeah,
love, like, hearing about, like, how other people organize their time and what they do and how, like, those systems occur for them or why it clicks, and how it works, and that started for me, for sure, in about the 4th grade, where, I got my very first planner, and there was nothing that was more thrilling to me than to make a list and then check things off the list and then make a new list and check things off that list. Like I can remember like such a sense of satisfaction at like 11 years old, not having to, rely on anyone else and being able to do it myself and then just knowing that I finished something.
yeah,
So I can't, it to me, and whatever the system might be, if it works for someone, then, then that is so interesting
yeah.
and
I
why.
mean,
And yeah.
like the kids that I spend the start of the school year talking about like and I look through with the kids, like where their schedules are, where things get posted, and we bookmark things on their Google Chrome, like web browser. Like here's the teacher's school wires. That's back in the day for you. Google sites and like where they find everything, but like we have so like it's there's no uniformity to what we're doing,
Yeah, that
and it's
would
like
work. That would work
you
for
want to
the
give
kids.
teachers autonomy, and you want to let them make their own decisions. But at some point, you have to go like, "No." Like, we were talking today,
Mm,
you and I, about a number of things, like, I don't want to necessarily the hills we will die on, but that would be something. Throwing I talked about, like, we have issues in the bathroom in our school, right? What school doesn't have issues in the bathroom? Okay? Kids that are hanging out in there, or they're messing around, or they're, meeting up with their friends or stuff like that. Any of those things would be, a big problem. Okay? Um, and we see that all the time, but the girls are all meeting in there, kids are on their phones or whatever it is. So, like, there's something out there called, I think it's called Class Pass. Like, throw money at the problem. I realize it's another subscription. It would be something that district needs to purpose, but it's going to alleviate some of the allegedly
mm,
alleviate some of the problems. I don't exactly know how it works. There's probably pros and cons to everything, but like, why not try it? Because
right.
we're one kid in the bathroom at a time. There's a line at the bathroom that's around half the the goddamn hallway, and kids are missing instructional time.
Ooh.
Sorry, and kids are missing. Should I not have said that? I don't know. I'm having a day, people. Uh,
Gosh, I mean, you went from thawed to warm to fire, okay?
it's funny. The fires of learning. No,
Yeah,
no. I just think that like there is a way for us to try to solve a problem, and it's
yeah.
not let's have one kid go to the bathroom at a time, and then when that kid comes out, the teacher
Mm.
goes in and checks the bathroom, make sure they don't graffiti it, and then the next person goes in, and then the teacher goes. Come on, like seriously,
I'm right on top of that, Rose.
yeah, right on top of that, Rose. There are
Yep.
so many better things that we could be allocating our time to.
Yes.
There's things like that. There would be uniformity in the way of the way things are posted.
Yeah.
Which I think would be important. And again, I'm not in charge of anything. I don't make any decisions, so none of the things I say matter.
They matter to me.
No.
Mr. Vitale, I wanna make, a little, formal congratulations and shout out before we wrap up today to,
Oh,
Katie Schneider. Miss Katie Schneider was, on the pod last season,
yeah, she was.
and, she is, getting married, having a baby, all the things. So, we just wanna wish you the very, very best,
Yes.
Miss Katie Schneider,
Uh,
and,
Katie Schneider
her
was
open
the
letter to the
Katie wrote an open letter to parents about things that we need from them.
yeah.
We thought it was great, reached out to her and had her on the pod. But yeah, congratulations to Katie.
From the cornfields of
From the
Nebraska.
cornfields of Nebraska,
Yes.
which
Oh,
which
Mr.
is
Vitale, I
yes.
appreciate you.
Hey, guess what, buddy?
Yeah?
I'm warmed up now. And
Oh.
I and I appreciate you too. We really want to. We keep saying like we want to hear what you think, but like
Yeah.
we really do want to hear
We
what you
really
think.
do.
Like
Yeah.
if you're our listeners out there, we want to know like what are some things that you about grades, about all the things that we've
Scheduling,
been discussing,
planning,
scheduling,
grading,
planning.
how many does your school have a class pass,
Yeah,
fancy pants? Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It all comes down to time and money and access. So
That's right.
it definitely would be interesting to hear what people are using in other districts. So as always, we will see everybody next time on the Balancing Act podcast.
Bye.
Look for the Balancing Act podcast every week on your favorite podcast platform. New episodes drop every Tuesday. Thank you for being a part of our audience. We appreciate you.